Wedding night. My wife lay on the bed, a face full of disgust. Ethan, my heart belongs only to Liam. If you touch me, I'll die to show you. I looked at her virtuous, chaste woman act and laughed. All right, then tonight you sleep in the doghouse. The bed belongs to me. I rolled up the quilt and kicked her, pillow and all, off the bed. Get lost. Don't keep me from sleeping. She fell to the floor, completely stunned. Sophia's nightgown was now crumpled and bunched at her waist. She lay awkwardly on a Persian-style rug, her carefully styled chestnut waves spread like dead grass over half her face. She propped up her upper body, and those eyes, usually 3 parts aloof, 7 parts proud, were now filled with disbelief. Ethan, are you crazy? You actually dare to kick me? Her voice was sharp and grating, completely devoid of that otherworldly goddess demeanor she usually put on. I leaned against the soft headboard and leisurely smoothed the sleeve I just must, looking down at her from above. So what if I kicked you? Didn't you say you'd die to prove it to me? The floor is cool. Good for you to calm down, and while you're at it, think about which way of dying would look the most artistic. Sophia was shaking with anger. She pointed at me. The 3-carat pink diamond wedding ring on her finger sparkled blindingly under the lights. It was the one the original woman had spent over $10 million to buy back at auction, just to make her smile. But after she got it, she turned and posted a star message visible only to Liam, shackles. Truly shameless, offering face and getting none. Ethan, don't think that because I married you, I belong to you. I and Liam truly love each other. My body and soul belong to him alone. If you dare force me, I'll accuse you of marital rape. She climbed up from the floor. Before she'd even steadied herself, she began to morally condemn me. That's a routine the original owner could take. I won't. I casually reached for the lighter on the bedside table, clicked it, and the blue flame danced at my fingertips. Sophia, have you read so much that you've gone stupid? Look at this bedroom, this villa, even that nightgown you're wearing. Isn't everything paid for by my Johnson family? You take my money, live in my house, keep another man in your heart, and still want to guard your purity for him? You call this true love? I call it ingratitude. Sophia's face went pale, as if a sore spot had been touched, but she quickly lifted her chin again, putting on an air of looking down on money as filth. Money, money, money. All you ever think about is money. Liam is right. A merchant like you, reeking of money, doesn't understand what love or nobility is. The spiritual world that Liam and I share is something people like you could never reach. I scoffed and extinguished the lighter. That's pretty noble. So noble that your Taylor family needs me, a man who reeks of money, to put up $50 million in bride price just to keep you from going bankrupt. So noble that Liam's tuition and living expenses while studying in Senna City, even the money he used to buy you that shabby bracelet, were all milked out of me. Sophia bristled like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. You're lying. Liam is a talented artist. He would never take your dirty money. That $50 million was given voluntarily by you. You begged me to marry you. If you don't care about it, fine, divorce. I'm leaving right now. She said it and lunged for the door. Her hand just touched the doorknob when she froze. She turned to look at me, as if waiting for me to do what I used to do. Burst into tears, rush over, grab her legs, and beg her not to leave. After all, in the book's plot, the original owner was exactly that pathetic. Whenever Sophia mentioned divorce, the original would act like a lost soul, conceding territory and paying compensation with no dignity left. Too bad. The current Ethan only wanted to watch the show. I crossed my arms and watched her stiff figure at the door with calm leisure. Why did you stop? Open the door, come on. The door isn't locked. Do you need me to call security to see you out? Sophia's back stiffened like a slab of stone. Of course she didn't dare leave. The Taylor family's debt crisis hadn't been resolved. That first life-saving $50 million still required Johnson Group's channels and resources going forward. If she walked out that door tonight, the Taylor family would be devoured by creditors by morning. She bit her lip, turned and glared at me, tears welling in her eyes, looking as if she had been grievously wronged. "Ethan, you've changed. You never used to talk to me like this. Do you have another woman outside? Is that why you're deliberately picking a fight to humiliate me?" I couldn't help it and burst out laughing. "Sophia, your knack for turning things around really opens my eyes. All right, I'm tired. I don't have time to watch a melodrama. If you don't want to leave, then shut up. This bed is mine tonight. Either you sleep on the floor, or in the guest room, or in the doghouse. Make another sound, and I'll have Mr. Wilson burn all your designer bags." Having said that, I pulled the covers over, turned off the bedside lamp, and lay down to sleep. In the dark, I could hear Sophia's heavy breathing and her stifled sobs. She stood there for a long time, and in the end didn't dare slam the door and leave. There were rustling sounds. She must have grabbed an extra quilt and curled up on the chaise by the floor-to-ceiling window. That night, I slept especially well. As for Sophia, she tossed and turned on the chaise and didn't sleep a wink. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the bedroom through the gaps in the heavy curtains. I opened my eyes, stretched lazily, and felt completely refreshed. Turning my head, the chaise lounge was empty. It seemed Miss Taylor had left early. I got up slowly to wash, changed into a well-tailored bespoke suit, and straightened my tie in the mirror. The man in the mirror had arched brows and bright eyes, a commanding figure. This appearance was truly top-notch. The original owner had such good looks and still chose to be a sycophant. What a waste. I went downstairs to the dining room, where butler Mr. Wilson had already arranged a lavish breakfast. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson." Mr. Wilson respectfully pulled out a chair. I looked around the empty dining table. "Where is Miss Taylor?" "Mr." Wilson's expression was odd as he said in a low voice, "Miss Taylor went out early this morning, saying she said she had arranged to meet a friend to see an art exhibition. She didn't even have breakfast, and she drove off in that red Ferrari from the garage. See an art exhibition? More like see Liam. That kid Liam just returned to the country a few days ago. I heard he's preparing a solo show at the Capital City Museum of Art. On the second day of her marriage, she abandons her husband to meet her ex. This Sophia is truly shameless to the extreme." I lifted my coffee and took a sip, my expression calm. "Mr. Wilson, send me the GPS location for that Ferrari. Also, tell the finance department to cancel all supplementary cards registered under Sophia's name." Mr. Wilson was stunned, the napkin in his hand nearly falling to the floor. "Mr. Johnson? Cancel all of them. Miss Taylor, when she's away from home, if she has no money to spend." I put down the coffee cup. The porcelain and the saucer made a crisp clink. "Doesn't she treat money like dung? If she's that lofty, spending my money would surely make her uncomfortable. I'm doing this for her." "Right. Check the list of sponsors for Liam's exhibition again. If there are any companies under the Johnson Group or related enterprises, pull all funding." "Mr." Wilson was shocked, but as the butler of a wealthy family, his ability to execute orders was first-rate. "Yes, Mr. Johnson. I'll take care of it right away." After breakfast, I got into the Maybach and headed straight for Johnson Group headquarters. On the way, my phone vibrated. It was a text from the bank notifying me a charge had been declined. Immediately after, Sophia called. I looked at the screen as the word wife flashed and put on mute, tossing the phone aside. I could already imagine her expression, probably in some luxury store or gallery, holding a black card that wouldn't go through, mortified and wishing she could sink through the floor. When I arrived at the office and stepped out of the elevator, a figure in business attire came up to meet me. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson." Her voice was crisp with a hint of professionalism. It was my personal secretary, Chloe. Today she wore a white silk blouse paired with a black pencil skirt. Her long legs, wrapped in black stockings, were straight and slender. A pair of gold-rimmed glasses sat on the bridge of her nose, giving off a subtly seductive air beneath her austere appearance. In the original owner's memories, Chloe was a work-only robot, but I caught that fleeting glint in her eyes when she looked at me. "Morning." I nodded slightly to her and strode into the office. Chloe followed closely behind and began to report today's schedule. "Mr. Johnson, There's an executive meeting at 10 in the morning to discuss the development project for the Nanching plot. Lunch is scheduled with Mr. Reed. 3 in the afternoon. She reported methodically. I sat in the large leather executive chair, my gaze nonetheless roaming her. Chloe. I suddenly interrupted her. Chloe stopped, pushed up her glasses, and looked somewhat puzzled. Mr. Johnson, any instructions? I remember you studied art appreciation in college. Chloe was momentarily taken aback, then nodded. Yes, Mr. Johnson, but I later earned a double degree, majoring in financial management. That's good. A playful smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. Cancel the afternoon's schedule. Come with me somewhere. Chloe was a little surprised, but she still agreed with consummate professionalism. Okay, Mr. Johnson, where are we going? Do I need to prepare anything? I twirled the pen in my hand, speaking casually. To the Central Art Museum in Jing City. I heard there's an exhibition by an unknown painter there. Since my wife likes it so much, how can I, as her husband, not go and show my support? Chloe's expression instantly became a little complicated. She clearly knew about Sophia and Liam, and also understood what I meant by show my support. Mr. Johnson, are you going to catch them in the act? She didn't dare say those 2 words aloud, but her expression had already betrayed her. I stood up, walked to her side, and looked down at her. The distance between us suddenly closed, and I could smell the faint scent of gardenia perfume on her. Catching cheaters is boring. I'm here to teach them a lesson. Also, to show you what kind of art is truly valuable. Chloe's cheeks flushed slightly. She instinctively took half a step back, but quickly steadied herself. Yes, Mr. Johnson. I'll arrange the car right away. Watching her hurriedly leave, I was in a great mood. Sophia, Liam, it's time for your artistic dreams to wake up. Central City Art Museum. The place had been reserved for a private event today. Flower baskets filled the entrance, most sent by Sophia under various pretexts. On the poster, Liam wore his hair long, his gaze melancholic, dressed in a linen-textured shirt, looking every bit the underappreciated artist. The exhibition hall wasn't crowded, just a sparse few people, mostly planned higher by Liam or Sophia's circle of girlfriends. When I walked into the lobby with Chloe, I happened to see Sophia and Liam standing in front of painting. The painting showed the back of a woman, her upper body naked, the lines soft and graceful. No guessing needed to know who the model was. Sophia had changed into a plain, elegant long dress today and stood beside Liam, tilting her head up with an adoring look. Liam was pointing at the painting, preaching passionately. Sophia, look at the tension in these lines. This is my longing for freedom, my indictment of the shackles of convention. Only by your side does my inspiration not run dry, because you yourself are the most perfect work of art. That cheesy pickup line churned my stomach. Chloe was standing behind me and couldn't hold back a snore of laughter. Her laugh sounded particularly grating in the empty showroom. Sophia and Liam both turned their heads. When Sophia saw me, her expression instantly soured horribly. She glanced guiltily at Liam beside her, then remembered the car that had been canceled this morning, and anger quickly overshadowed her guilt. She strode over to me, her high heels clacking on the marble floor. Ethan, what are you doing here? How dare you show your face? I ask you, why did you cancel my card? Do you know how embarrassing it was just now when I was over there buying a picture frame and my card wouldn't go through? She rushed up to me, pointed at my nose, and demanded answers, completely disregarding that this was a public place. Liam came over too, but he wasn't as brazen as Sophia. He glanced me up and down. A flicker of jealousy and disdain crossed his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a haughty expression. Mr. Johnson, this is a temple of art, not a place for you to haggle over money. If you're here to pick a fight, please leave. Don't defile my painting. I ignored Sophia's roar and instead glanced at Liam with interest. Defile? Mr. Carter, good choice of words. I reached out and pulled Chloe from behind me, bringing her to the front. Ms. Bennett, you're the professional. Give us your evaluation. How much is this painting worth? Chloe didn't expect me to suddenly push her out, but she reacted quickly. She pushed up her glasses and gave that painting titled Breaking Free a sharp once-over. The composition is chaotic, the use of color extremely mundane, and the traces of imitation are obvious. Especially the handling of light and shadow. It's frankly beginner level. If it were hung in a decorative art market, it might fetch about $200, frame included. But considering this is Mr. Carter's masterpiece. Chloe paused, the corner of her mouth lifting into a professional, forced smile. I think even if you paid people, no one would want to hang it at home. It's just too big. Liam's face went green with anger. He fancied himself a genius and had never been subjected to such blunt humiliation. You uncultured Philistine who doesn't understand art. What do you know? Sophia screamed, even more sharply, as if someone had stepped on her tail. Shut up, you little secretary. What right do you have to criticize Liam's painting? Liam's painting has even won an award in Senna City. Ethan, are these the people you brought? No manners at all. I let go of Chloe, stepped forward, and closed in on Sophia. Manners? Sophia, you're spending your husband's money to hold an art show for your ex, and you even stripped naked to model for him. Is this what you call manners? My voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for everyone around to hear clearly. The gallery fell silent at once. Several passers-by who had been looking at the painting turned to cast gossiping glances, pointing and whispering about the artwork. Oh my, so that's his wife? TSK. That cuckold's wearing that hat so proudly. Sophia's face instantly flushed bright red, not sure whether from shame or anger. Why you? What are you talking about? That's art. It's body art. Your mind is filthy. You see filth in everything. Liam also panicked and rushed over, trying to push me. Ethan, don't slander us. Sophia and I are innocent. I sidestepped his hand and slapped him back. Smack. The crisp smack echoed through the showroom. Liam spun around, clutching his face, stunned. Sophia screamed and rushed over to steady him. Liam, are you okay? She turned and glared at me viciously, tears welling up and spilling over. Ethan, how dare you hit someone? I'm calling the police. I disdainfully pulled out a wet wipe and wiped my hands as if I just touched something dirty. Call the police? Fine, report it. Just have the police investigate where Mr. Carter's living expenses in Kina City came from during those years. Also check whether the $5 million Miss Taylor secretly transferred from my account counts as transferring assets during the marriage. Sophia's body froze suddenly. Her eyes flickered. She didn't dare look at me anymore. That was the money she secretly transferred to Liam last month to help him prepare for his exhibition. She thought I never kept the books and wouldn't notice. Liam covered his face, a trace of panic also flashing in his eyes. Although he was proud, he knew living off someone else wasn't something to be proud of, especially when the money had been stolen from the rival's bowl. I looked at the pair of reckless lovebirds and sneered. What? Not calling the police anymore? If you're not calling them, then listen carefully. I scanned the exhibition hall and raised my voice. Starting today, Johnson Group is withdrawing all sponsorship for this exhibition. Venue rental, promotion, materials, not a single cent will be paid anymore. Also, this painting, I pointed to that piece, Breaking Free. Since the paint and canvas were bought with my money, then it's mine. Chloe, Mr. Johnson. Chloe replied, have someone take it down and bring it back. Hung on the company restroom door to ward off evil. Yes. Chloe stifled a laugh, took out her phone, and started calling people. Sophia trembled with rage, tears falling like beads with broken strings. Ethan, you're being too much. You'll regret this. I will definitely make you regret it. I didn't even glance at her. I turned and walked away. Regret. Sophia, come back to talk about regret when you can repay that $5 million. Oh, that's right. Remember to come home tonight. After all, our accounts haven't been settled yet. Back at the office, I cheerfully handled a few documents. Chloe came in carrying a coffee, and there was a trace of curiosity and admiration in the way she looked at me. Mr. Johnson, back at the gallery just now, you were really handsome. She set down the coffee, her voice a little soft. I looked up at her and smiled, saying, "What? Wasn't I handsome before?" Chloe's face flushed, and she hastily waved her hand. No, you were handsome before, but you used to be too miserable, right?" I spoke up for her. Chloe pressed her lips into a smile, tacitly agreeing. "All right, stop flattering. How are the current financials of the Taylor family you were asked to investigate?" Chloe reverted to a professional demeanor and pulled a report from the folder. "The situation is dire. The Taylor Group's main business has been operating at a loss for 3 consecutive years, and the bank loan is due next month. They were counting on the new project funded by the Johnson Group to revive things, but the project approval is still in our hands. If there is no capital injection this week, they will have no choice but to declare bankruptcy and liquidate." I took the report, glanced over it, and my fingers tapped lightly on the desk. "Very good. Notify the project department to put that project's approval on hold. As for the reason, just say the risk assessment didn't pass." Chloe's eyes lit up. "Mr. Johnson, are you going to close the door and beat the dog?" I closed the folder, a cold light flashing in my eyes. Sophia wasn't strong-willed. Didn't the Taylor family think they had me all figured out? "I'll make them understand that without the Johnson family, they're nothing." As I was saying that, my phone rang. It was Sophia's mother, my dear mother-in-law Margaret Taylor, calling. She probably went back and complained. I answered, and my mother-in-law's sharp voice came through. "Ethan, what on earth is wrong with you?" Sophia came home in tears, saying you froze her card and humiliated her and Liam in public. "Aren't you a man? Already married, and you're bullying your wife like this." "That Liam is Sophia's classmate. It's just pure friendship. How can you be so narrow-minded?" I held my phone a little farther away and waited for her to finish speaking. "Mrs. Taylor, have you finished?" "Ethan, what kind of attitude is that?" "My attitude is simple. Since Sophia married into the Johnson family, she must follow the Johnson family's rules. Using my money to support some stray man, no matter the era, that's unacceptable. If you think I'm petty, that's easy to fix. Have Sophia return the money she spent on Liam these past years, principal and interest. A total of $23,500,000. I'll waive the small change. If it's paid back, I'll pretend none of it ever happened." The phone fell silent instantly. Over $20 million. For the Taylor family now, it was an amount they couldn't produce. The mother-in-law's momentum immediately weakened, and her voice grew a little shaky. They're a young couple living together. Why count things so precisely? "Ethan, Sophia has been spoiled by us. Please be understanding." "I can't be understanding." I cut her off. "Have Sophia return to the villa tonight. If she doesn't come back, don't even think about tomorrow's project approval." After saying that, I hung up the phone. Chloe stood by, dumbfounded, then gave a thumbs up. "Mr. Johnson, impressive." I smiled, stood up, and straightened my suit. "Let's go off work. There's a gathering tonight. I'll take you to relax." That night, I didn't go straight back to the villa. Instead, I took Chloe to the Skyline Club. This was where the top second-generation crowd of Jing City gathered. The original owner had rarely come to places like this before because he was a henpecked husband and was afraid Sophia would be unhappy. As soon as I appeared today, the private room immediately livened up. "Oh, isn't this Mr. Johnson? What a rare guest. Newlyweds and not home with Miss Taylor. How do you have time to come out and play?" The one speaking was old friend Noah Parker, with a fresh-faced model curled up in his arms. I casually picked a seat, and Chloe obediently sat beside me, pouring me a drink. "Don't mention it. My wife is currently staging a hunger strike against me." I took the glass and said indifferently. At once the others perked up. "What? Miss Taylor's still that hard to please?" I say, "Mr. Johnson, you pamper her too much. If you ask me, you can't spoil a woman. The more you do, the higher she'll fly." "Exactly. With Mr. Johnson standing, what kind of woman couldn't he find? Why cling to just one?" Everyone jabbered teasingly. The original owner would have lost their temper at remarks like these, but I listened smilingly. Just then, the private room door was pushed open. A man in a server's uniform carried a tray of drinks in. Long hair, melancholy eyes. It was actually Liam. The room fell quiet for a moment. Noah, sharp-eyed, recognized him at once. Isn't that guy? Miss Taylor's male confidant. What was your name again? Liam. Liam clearly hadn't expected to run into me here. His face went instantly deathly pale. The tray in his hand was trembling. So the so-called independent artist, after his gallery funding fell through, had to come here to wait tables for quick cash. After all, the tips at Skylight were generous. I leaned against the sofa, swirling the wine glass in my hand, smiling with a hint of mockery as I watched him. Mr. Carter, what a coincidence. What? The exhibition's canceled? Switch careers to experiencing life? Liam grit his teeth, staring at me as if he wanted to throw his drink in my face. But in a place like this, even with 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare. Any one of the patrons here could crush him. Mr. Johnson, I'm a part-timer here. May I ask what drink you'd like? He forced himself to ask, trying to keep the last shred of dignity. Noah saw the cue and let out a chuckle. Since you're a friend of Mr. Johnson, you must be treated well. Come on, Mr. Carter, open this whole row of bottles and fill Mr. Johnson's glass. Noah pointed at the row of costly Louis XIII on the table. Liam's face turned ashen, but under the manager's urging look, he could only walk over and, with trembling hands, uncork the bottles. Smack! Maybe I was too nervous, or maybe my mind was elsewhere. A bottle slipped and shattered on the floor. The wine splashed all over Chloe and me. Chloe cried out and hurried to wipe me with a napkin. Liam stood there stunned. That single bottle was worth his entire year's living expenses. The foreman rushed over and slapped Liam across the face. Can't you see? Do you know how much this wine costs? Hurry up and apologize to Mr. Johnson. Liam covered his face and bowed his head in humiliation. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson. I didn't mean to. I pushed Chloe's hand away, stood up, and looked at the mess all over the floor. You didn't mean to? Is what I didn't mean to supposed to be enough? I walked up to Liam, my dress shoes crunching on the shards of glass with a creak. Liam, aren't your hands supposed to only hold a paintbrush and never touch anything rough? How can you not even steady a bottle? Looks like you're not only bad at painting, you're bad at carrying trays too. Liam trembled all over, his eyes red-rimmed. Ethan, don't push people too far. I'll compensate. I'll pay you. Compensate. I smiled. This bottle of wine is $58,000 plus the ruined clothes and compensation for mental distress. Round it up to a nice number, $100,000. What are you going to pay with? Let your Sophia, who is still on a hunger strike, pay for you. When Sophia was mentioned, a trace of hope flickered in Liam's eyes, but it quickly faded. He knew Sophia was now, like a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. Just then, the private room door was pushed open again. Sophia burst in, panting. She had obviously received Liam's desperate call or heard the rumors. Seeing Liam kneeling on the ground with his face swollen to twice its size, Sophia was heartbroken. Liam. She rushed over to help Liam up, then turned and glared at me. Ethan, are you even human? Why do you have to pick on him? He just broke a bottle of wine, didn't he? I'll pay you for it. Saying that, she reflexively reached into her bag for her card. Only when she pulled it out did she remember that all the supplementary cards had been frozen by me. Her hand froze midair, and her expression changed through a spectrum in an instant. Low laughter rippled around them. Noah was even more merciless, sneering. Miss Taylor, will this card still work? I heard Mr. Johnson froze all your cards today. Why don't you beg Mr. Johnson? Sophia gripped that useless card tightly, her knuckles white. She looked at me with humiliation and resentment in her eyes. Ethan, as long as you let Liam go, What about it? I raised an eyebrow at her. What leverage do you still have to negotiate with me? Sophia, look closely. The love you pride yourself on is worthless in the face of money. If Liam had been firmer just now, saying he'd rather go to prison than beg me, I might have thought better of him. But he didn't. He called you and asked you to pay his bill. Is this your true love? Sophia was stunned. She looked at Liam. Liam avoided her gaze and stammered. Sophia, I have no money. Sophia's body trembled, as if some belief were collapsing. I waved my hand like shooing flies. Enough, don't be an eyesore here. These $100,000 put on the Taylor family's account. Take your true love and get out. Sophia gritted her teeth, supporting Liam, and in the midst of everyone's teasing glances, fled the private room in a disgraceful state. Watching their retreating figures, I picked up the other glass on the table and drained it. Chloe came over and asked in a low voice, Mr. Johnson, are you just going to let them go like that? I pinched her chin. Let them go. The game has just begun. Let the bullets fly a little longer. Sophia sent Liam back to his cramped apartment. They were both silent all the way. Liam's face was swollen, and he no longer had his usual aloof look. When they reached the downstairs, Liam grabbed Sophia's hand. Sophia, I'm sorry for embarrassing you today, but Ethan is too mean to people. He just uses his money to bully others. Sophia looked at the man who had once obsessed her, and an indescribable weariness rose in her heart. She had previously thought Liam's poverty meant unrecognized talent, a kind of aloofness. But today at the club, watching Liam timid and unable even to afford a bottle of liquor, she felt for the first time that money really mattered. It's okay, you should rest. Sophia withdrew her hand, her tone somewhat cold. I'm going back first. Sophia. Liam grew anxious and grabbed her. Don't go. Do you despise me? I swear I will succeed. When my exhibition is held, when I become famous, I will repay all the humiliation I endured today. Help me one more time. Go beg Ethan. Ask him to restore the exhibition sponsorship. Sophia froze. She pushed Liam away and looked at him in disbelief. What did you say? You're asking me to go beg Ethan? Do you know how he humiliated me today? Liam's eyes flickered. I know, but Sophia, only you can help me. Didn't you say you'd do anything for me? As long as the exhibition can be held, our future will have hope. Sophia looked at Liam's anxious face and suddenly felt very unfamiliar. Where had the Liam who read her poetry by the Seine and said he'd rather starve than bow for 5 measures of rice gone? Liam, I'm tired. Sophia stepped back and turned to get into the car. No matter how Liam called after her, she did not look back. It was already late when she returned to the villa. The living room was brightly lit. I was sitting on the sofa, holding a document. Chloe sat beside me, peeling an apple for me. The two were close together in an intimate posture. As soon as Sophia walked in and saw this scene, the suppressed anger that had been building inside her exploded. Ethan, you actually brought this vixen home. Do you have no shame? I didn't even look up, took the apple Chloe had sliced, and bit into it. This is my home. Do I need your approval for who I bring back? What about you coming back so late? Have you settled your true love? Sophia rushed over and slapped the apple out of my hand. Ethan, we aren't divorced yet. You're committing adultery while married. I stared at the apple that had rolled onto the carpet, my gaze growing cold. Chloe, pick it up. Yes. Chloe bent down to pick it up, but Sophia stamped on the apple and crushed it underfoot. Let's see who dares to pick it up. Ethan, you have to give me an explanation. I stood up, grabbed Sophia's chin, and forced her to look up at me. Explain. Sophia, get your facts straight. Right now it's your Taylor family begging me, not me begging you. Since you have so much backbone, let's settle the score. I picked up the documents on the table and slapped them in her face. These are the financial loopholes in the Taylor Group over the past few years, and the evidence of you embezzling company funds to support Liam, plus the $100,000 from tonight. $250 million in total. By tomorrow morning, if I don't see the money credited, you can start getting meals delivered to your Liam in prison. Sophia looked at the documents scattered all over the floor, her hands and feet ice cold. She trembled as she picked up a few sheets. The dense figures on them made her dizzy. Embezzlement of public funds. This was a serious crime. She had taken the money to help Liam in an emergency, thinking that as long as no one knew, you were spying on me? I was protecting my property. I let go of his hand and wiped myself off disdainfully. Sophia, I gave you a chance. You're the one who didn't cherish me. Tonight, either sign the divorce papers and leave with nothing, or behave yourself as Mrs. Johnson and stop testing my limits." Sophia collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. She knew it was over. Without the Johnson family's protection, the Taylor family would fall and she would face prison. And Liam, the man who couldn't even come up with $100,000, couldn't save her at all. I won't divorce," she said through tears, her voice as thin as a mosquito's. "I won't divorce." I looked down at her from above, a cruel smile curling at the corner of my mouth. "Not divorcing? All right. Then starting today, you will obediently stay at home. Don't step out the door without my permission. Also," I glanced at Chloe, "from now on, you'll do the household chores. Dismiss all the servants. If you don't want to be a wealthy madam, then go experience the hardships of the working people." Sophia suddenly looked up, her eyes full of terror. "What did you say? Make me do housework? These hands of mine are for painting." "Painting?" I sneered. "What do your hands do besides spend money? Don't want to do it? Then go rot in jail." Sophia bit her lip, blood seeping out. She looked at me, then glanced at Chloe beside her with an indifferent expression, and finally lowered her haughty head. I'll do it." The days that followed were nothing short of hell for Sophia. The Johnson family villa was huge. Just sweeping and mopping it left her exhausted. The hands that once only held paintbrushes and a credit card were now rough, and several of her nails had broken. As for me, I spent my days bossing people around at the company with Chloe at my side, and came home at night to nitpick the results of her labor. The floor wasn't mopped properly. Do it again. The food is too salty. Throw it out and make it again. The clothes aren't ironed smooth. Do you want me to go to a meeting wearing wrinkled clothes? Every time she heard my reprimands, Sophia could only swallow her pride, silently cry, and redo the work. She tried calling Liam for help, but his phone always went unanswered. Later, she learned that after Liam found out the Taylor family was about to go bankrupt and that Sophia had been confined by me, he bought a standing ticket in the middle of the night and ran away. Rumor had it he went back home to meet a demolition family daughter, Olivia Davis, intending to marry into her family. When she heard the news, Sophia was wiping the stair railing. She stood there stunned for a long time, then threw down the rag and sat on the stairs, wailing loudly. She cried as if her heart were being torn apart. It was unclear whether she was mourning a lost love or lamenting her own blindness. I stood quietly in the second-floor hallway and watched her cry. Not a trace of sympathy. All of this was her own doing. If she had behaved herself from the start, even if she didn't love me, as long as she maintained outward respect, I wouldn't have acted so ruthlessly. But she should never have trampled on my dignity and used my money to support a kept man. "Have you cried enough?" I said coldly. Sophia lifted her head, her face streaked with tears, her eyes swollen and red. "Ethan, Liam, he left. He doesn't want me anymore." "Oh," I responded lightly. "Wasn't this expected? Only an idiot like you would treat him like a treasure." Sophia sobbed, climbed the stairs, and grabbed at my pant leg. "Ethan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I'll live properly with you from now on. I don't want Liam anymore. I'll be a good wife. I'll cook for you. I'll wash your clothes." Looking at her humble, pleading appearance, I felt not the slightest stir in my heart. She was like a dog with no home. If I'd known it would come to this, I shouldn't have acted the way I did. I kicked her hand away. "Sophia, you're late. The mirror is broken. Even if you glue it back together, all that's left are cracks. I have no interest in you anymore. I had to do the housework these past few days to make you face reality. Tomorrow, the lawyer will bring the divorce agreement. I'll help pay off part of the Taylor family's debt as compensation for these past years. The rest, you'll have to figure out yourself." Sophia froze. She hadn't expected that after I had tormented her like this, I would still want a divorce. "Ethan, you can't treat me like this. I love you. I just realized it now. I actually love you." She babbled out a confession, trying to grab the last straw. I crouched down and looked her in the eyes. "Love. Sophia, don't insult that word. You don't love me. You love the money I give you, the status of Mrs. Johnson. When all of that is gone, only then will you think I'm important. This kind of love is too cheap. I stood up and stopped looking at her. Pack your things and get out. Sophia signed the divorce papers. The day she left the Johnson family, she took only one suitcase. It held a few old clothes, the ones she used to wear before she married me. Those designer bags and jewelry, I didn't let her take a single piece. Because those belonged to Mrs. Johnson, and she no longer was. She stood at the villa gate and glanced back one last time. The place she had once discarded like old shoes had become a paradise she could never return to. The main gate slowly closed, cutting off her view. The Taylor family went bankrupt. Sophia's father suffered a stroke from rage and was admitted to the ICU. To raise money for medical bills, Sophia took a job as a drink promoter at an upscale nightclub. I heard that because she was pretty, many rich second-generation heirs harassed her. Once, Noah went to that club and saw her. He came back and told me as a joke, "You have no idea, Sophia was wearing that super short skirt, kneeling on the floor to pour me drinks." TSK. Who would have thought this was the same Miss Taylor who used to think she was better than everyone? She even asked me if I could lend her some money, said her father was about to die. Mr. Johnson, would you say this is karma? I listened, smiled, and said nothing. Everyone must pay for their choices. She enjoyed years of wealth and glory that weren't hers. Now she's just paying back what she owed. As for Liam, that demolition household's daughter Olivia is a shrew. I heard Liam had a miserable time after marriage. Not only did he have to serve his wife's entire family, he also had to endure domestic violence from his wife. Once he sneaked out to paint, but his wife discovered him and smashed all his painting supplies, even breaking one of his hands. From then on, there was no longer a Mr. Carter in the world, only a one-handed stay-at-home husband. Half a year later, at Johnson Group's celebration banquet, I linked arms with Chloe and stood under the spotlight. Chloe had now been promoted to vice president of the group. She had shed her youthfulness and become more confident and charming. Mr. Johnson, congratulations. The South City project was a huge success. She raised her glass, smiling broadly. I clinked glasses with her, my gaze gentle. Congratulations, Vice President Bennett. Tonight to my place? Chloe's face flushed, but she didn't refuse. She simply nodded slightly. In the corner of the banquet hall, a woman in a server's uniform stood holding a tray, staring blankly at the glamorous us on stage. It was Sophia. She had lost a lot of weight, her complexion waxen. Long gone was the charm she once had. Seeing Chloe and me so close, tears streamed down her face silently. If only back then, but life has no ifs. I glanced at her out of the corner of my eye, but quickly looked away. To me, she was just a passerby in a book, a tool for slapping faces. Now, the story is over. It's time for me to enjoy the brilliant life that belongs to me. That night, in the master bedroom of the villa, Chloe wore the nightgown Sophia had once criticized as too tacky, yet she carried it with a different kind of allure. Ethan, she called my name with feeling. I kissed her lips, giving all my tenderness to the woman before me who was worth it. The moonlight outside was like water. Everything was just right. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note. with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's. Yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, after all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only a year and a half. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. "Mr. George, thank you for coming." The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. "Did you send the email?" I asked directly. She nodded. "There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me?" We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. "Who are you, really?" The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. "My name is Nicole." She looked me straight in the eye. "I'm Mary's student." This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. "I took her advanced design class the year before she passed," Nicole explained. "Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime." "That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much," I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. "These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers." I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. "Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project," Nicole continued. "The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time." "George's special birthday project?" I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. "You know about it?" "I only found out recently." I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. "I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you," Nicole said with a smile. "Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber?" Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things." She took a letter out of her bag. "This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it." I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. "I hope you won't blame me." I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. "Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary." The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. "Thank you," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "This means a lot to me." "You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request," Nicole said with a smile. "Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with." "What is it?" "I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established," she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. "This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations." As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, They also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, "In memory, dedicated to teacher Mary." Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry. Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, See, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. George, you look much more spirited lately, Frank remarked at a gathering. It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life. Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating. Nicole's a good girl, Frank said meaningfully. Talented, and she really understands you. I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of three-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. Which offer are you planning to accept? One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. To be honest, I'm still hesitating. Nicole paused her work. These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you. She looked straight into my eyes. Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it? Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. You should consider your own career development, I said tactfully. These opportunities are very rare for young designers. Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. I understand. In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. Congratulations, I said sincerely. It's a very good choice. Thank you, she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us. Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. Are you really going to just let her go like this? What do you mean? I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about, Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow, so this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we've found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.